guys, Ravensong here. Move my chair over a little bit. I have been wanting to do this tag for some time now. You know, situation as it is, I've been a little preoccupied with through tax season. I'm on a good day, so I thought I'd go ahead and do this now. This is a Simon tag. This is my tarot journey through decks. And like I said, I've been wanting to do this for some time. I don't know where to start. I guess we'll start at the very beginning. Let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Anyways, in 1985, I'm going to give just a little bit of background here. In 1985, settle down, guys. Dolly, enough. They're going to wrestle in front of me. In 1985, Thanksgiving week, or 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I gave birth to my oldest son, who has passed away. If you followed me, you probably knew about that, and there's a bit of a journey there, and some other videos early on. Because I've been doing actually videos for over 10 years now. Anyways, I digress. I gave birth to my son, and 2 weeks later, my ex-husband had a head injury accident. He was basically left with no memory of me, what we've been through, what our experiences were. He accepted the fact that he had a child and all that, but he had the basic mentality of a 13-year-old. To be quite honest, I don't know if he's still alive. He's 10 years older than me, which makes him pretty up there for someone with major head injury accident. Anyways, so during that healing process after that, when I decided I needed to get a divorce and get out of that relationship, because the man didn't remember me anyways, and I was just grasping at straws, and I was taking myself down a path that was very scary, and I needed to get out. And so part of that healing process, I took some of the money that came from the settlements, which was very little, but it was enough to take a semester in London program. And I traveled to London and traveled with quite a few people from the Midwest out here. There was one lady from New Mexico in particular. God, I wish I could remember her name. Anita? I can't remember. Anyways, she read tarot and she did healing work, and she did a lot of great things for us while we were traveling, because we spent a lot of time on trains and ferries and sleeping in chairs, and she did a lot of headache remedies for us, mostly laying on of hands type stuff. And so I kind of picked up on that, and this light started opening up. This doorway of exploration started opening up for me. Hey, stop it. You're shaking the camera. Stop it. Anyways, this whole world just started twinkling through at me. I don't know how else to explain it. It was just baby steps at that time. And so when I got back, actually I did look in London, because she was teaching me tarot to a degree. She was showing me how it worked and all that, because she did a reading for me that was just threw me for a loop. I've had readings before, and it was like, yeah, whatever, that doesn't apply to me. I don't understand it. Now, I have to look back on it now and say I don't know what those readings were, and didn't pay that much attention, so who knows what they told me at that time. Anyways, but hers were spot on for everything this trauma that I had gone through for 3 years and pulling myself out of. And so she started teaching, and I'm losing my train of thought here, sorry. I did go into, I don't think it was it Walker's bookstore? It was a big old bookstore in London, close to the Student Union, the ULU, and I went in there and I looked at tarot decks, but it was still kind of, I don't know, scary, I guess would be the word, intimidating for me. I was 23 years old, 22 years old, something like that. Anyways, so I didn't buy anything there. I mean, there was a lot. There were a few decks I remember. Most of them were the old decks, like the Minciatis and stuff like that. Tarotkis. And there may have been some Aleister Crowley stuff, but I don't think there was a wide selection. So I was a little disappointed and walked away empty-handed. But when I immediately got back to the States, the first thing I did is I hunted down a metaphysical bookstore, and I purchased my first deck, which is the Aquarian deck. Let me make sure. Is this my first deck? No, that's the second edition. Let me see if I can find my actual deck. That's the first edition. My actual deck, first deck, should be in a bag. First edition. Nope, that's not it. Anyways, I can't believe I can't find it. I wonder if I have it someplace else. That's a little worrisome. Anyways. So I purchased the Aquarian deck, and it had the blue and white backgrounds without the borders. So it was an old edition. It came in the Morgan Press box. I do remember that. But at that time, I found somewhere along the time that I had it, I noticed that if I boxed things up, I quit using them. So I started putting things in bags. Hence, it should be in a bag here somewhere. And I don't see it. And I could have swore I stuck it in here because I've been going through all my stuff. There it is. It's down in the back. So I purchased this, and I took a tarot class from a local gal on tarot. And again, doorways were opening. This whole metaphysical bookstore, the tarot class, herbology classes I started taking. Yeah, this is my very first deck, and it's pretty much the same as it's printed nowadays, except for it doesn't have all the U.S. games versions have the borders on the back, and as far as I know, anything that doesn't have it came from the Morgan Press line, and that's how you can tell what edition you have. And just to go down that road a little bit here, so I've got this one, which could be considered a first edition, though I got it in 1988, and these were 79, so it was 10 years later. Second edition, no, sorry, that's not first edition. What am I saying? This would be like a third edition. It might be considered older or younger because it's I bought it 10 years after the original publication, so who knows. Second editions came with solid blue backs. Okay. Back in here. And somewhere along the line, I happened to stumble across this baby. And I've never seen a first edition before, but this is the actual first edition. The first editions came in red or pink, white and black, with the Ouroboros on the back. And this is practically in mint condition. The colors are a little faded compared to my third edition and second edition, I think. I'm not going to compare them right now because I don't want to digress too much. Anyways, so that was my first tarot deck, was the Aquarian deck, and this was the actual deck, and I still cherish it today. I did go through and trim it at one point because the edges had gotten so frayed, but I did a really shitty job, so they're still kind of frayed. Anyways, it's okay. A little bit aged looking. But the gal that taught the classes also made these silk bags, because at that time they really emphasized the whole silk thing and keeping your tarot in silk. And I still subscribe to that and use silk in my bags, though they might be cotton outside. They usually have a silk lining when I make them. Anyways, so now that I've pulled out a whole bunch of other stuff, so that was my first deck, and I absolutely love it still today. I don't use it anymore. It's more of a novelty piece or memorabilia at this point. And then I proceeded through several years. There wasn't a lot of selection then. In the 80s, late 80s and 90s, there wasn't a huge selection. And I remember picking up the Hoods deck, the Rose Tarot, the Chinese Tarot, which I never, ever, ever, ever bonded with. Hoods and Rose, I do like those decks, but they aren't as strong a bond as I am with the Aquarian deck. I do still have those. They are at my shop. I have them up for sale. Though they may end up back in my house. We'll see the way things have been going. Anyways, no, get down. You don't need me. They're dying for attention. Anyways, so I picked up those and fiddled around with them and played with them, but I always went back to the Aquarian deck when I was reading for friends and family and myself. And for many, many years, probably, I don't know, when were my other kids? I remarried, have 3 other children, 2 boys and a girl. Trying to think here. Tracy was born in 93, 94. No, that's not right. I don't know. Yeah, 93, 94. Maybe? Yeah, maybe 94. I'm having a hard time keeping things in my head. Anyways, and I had those decks forever and ever and ever. And as I started walking the Wiccan path, because I did, not only did the tarot class lead me to a Wicca 101 with the same gal that was teaching the tarot classes, and healing, and eventually finding a coven or a group, a study group to join that later on led to a coven initiation, which was phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I never will regret it. I still fall back on my Wiccan roots, still consider myself a Wiccan, though I'm an independent, eclectic witch at this point. And anyways, God, I feel like I'm waffling and I'm umming a lot. Anyways. So for a long time, there was no progress in tarot decks. I think I picked up a Swords deck, the gold gilded little deck from U.S. Games at some point, but no real progress. And then, like I said, hooking up with this group and going to her classes and opening my own, well, I opened my own salon during this time period too. But hooking up with this group, I started going to a festival up in the mountains called Dragon Fest that was just amazing. And I tried selling my artwork there at first. And it got to a point where it was like I was opening the market and I was selling a lot of my own handmade goods and my arts. And I just felt like I could add more to what I was selling. So I'm trying to think exactly which came first. All of a sudden, because of the world that I worked in with the nails and doing manicures and beauty industry, you kind of get sucked into the fashion also. And there was a catalog in a store called Free People. I think they're still around, and they're really funky clothy, boho clothing, crazy expensive. But every once in a while I would splurge and buy myself something from them. And one day I was looking through their catalog and there was this tarot deck that it was like, what the hell is that? That is just freaking amazing. And all of a sudden, the whole industry changed at that point. The whole tarot world opened into a new dimension, a new production of product. And I was just floored. This tarot deck, The Wild Unknown, and I was the first, me and Connie, who owned the metaphysical store that I was connected to, went in together and purchased the first decks to come into Colorado. And we started distributing them. We split the cost of an initial order, and we started both selling those decks. I started taking them up to the festivals, and she started carrying them in the store, and we made quite a few purchases. There it is. Quite a few purchases in the beginning with the first editions. And this is a bag that I purchased on Etsy. I don't think this gal makes them anymore. This is the bag I had. No, I didn't have this one. I didn't have this one made, but somebody else did, and the order fell through for some reason. And so I picked it up, and I'm trying to remember. It's a gal out of Australia, Something Poet. Oh, God. She used to be on YouTube, and she did a little bit of tarot stuff, but she mostly did sewing things and her little farm down there and experiencing that, and it was very fun to watch her. And she made this bag, and she made me, the one that I ordered is for one of the later decks. I'll show you here in a minute. But she does this beautiful stitch work, and actually I had seen her work on, I can't remember what deck it was. It might have been this deck. And I commissioned a piece from her. But this is the original first edition of The Wild Unknown, and it is just, I thought it was just a huge gateway into something new and innovative in tarot. They weren't, let's go back to the Aquarian deck, the Who's deck, and the Rose deck. We used to call those clones. Basically, we used to call those the Waitesmith clones. in those days, because they were all basically Waite-Smith picturing, different artists, different interpretations of how a person looked or things like that. But otherwise, they were all basically the same. They were in the same position. They carried the same items. I've got these all wonky here. Anyways, so we used to call those clones. And I don't think you can call those clones now, because the copyright is up on Waite-Smith. And now there are so many real clones in that department that they've just recolorized, regenerated. Anyways, so things have changed quite a bit. We're coming through a change. And I think this was the gateway deck that actually solicited the change in the tarot artwork and genre. This is the bag picture that whoever it was commissioned, and I ended up absorbing it, which I'm so thrilled to have. But I was just floored by this deck, because it came in and I connected with it immediately. It just, opened a whole new, it refreshed my sense of loving tarot. It totally refreshed my connection with it. And I've just been absolutely gaga with tarot ever since. I mean, it pulled me down a path. Plus, like I said, I started working with within the community, the pagan community and the witch community, doing the festivals and becoming connected there. And I started carrying all kinds of decks. I opened up several business accounts with Llewellyn and US Games and Schiffer and Red Feather, all those, Wiser, even a couple obscure ones, Chronicle Books, I think it was called Chronicle Books. Anyways, I started carrying not only tarot, I started carrying books and all kinds of different things from those companies, which was really, really amazing to me. And during this process, the computer came of age, and Windows, and all the technological growth of connecting with community and connecting with people all over the world. And it was just, I mean, I've lived through some phenomenal changes in the industry, as well as just in the world itself. I mean, the things that have changed so much since the 80s, it's kind of crazy. Like I said, the whole computer world opened new avenues. And then as I started branching off from my coven group, because everybody's kind of going different directions, and I had had my own coven running for a while. It was short-lived. Like I said, everybody goes different ways, and I think there's a huge, in your 30s and 40s, you go through a lot of transition, and people go end up in different parts of the world, different parts of the state, and so everything kind of dissolved and became pretty much solitary. Hey, that's enough. Enough. Ugh, dang it. Sorry. So I started going onto YouTube. That was probably 10 years ago. No, it's probably more than 10 years ago, because I think I was a lurker for quite a while. And I started trying to connect with more witch communities, and I hooked up with Earthbound Secrets, which was a gal named Anna who directed that. Stop stepping on my stuff. Anyways, and in that group, they had several people that contributed to it, including, there was Anna, there was Avalon Cameron, there was Hippie Chick, there was hippie chick, and there was another chick. And she was funny as all get out. And I really miss her. I can't remember her name. Hippie chick? And then there was another one, and I can't remember her name. But I loved them. And they started reviewing more decks. More and more the things that I had connection with, because I was now retailing decks, so I was able to see a lot of this stuff. Things that I had passed over in particular, because I didn't think I'd connect to them. And seeing them go through their little quick walkthroughs or reviews or things like that, it gave me another connection. And from there, I got hooked into Kelly. I found Kelly originally, I hate to say this, but she was so methodical in her work that I found it hard to watch her, because, I mean, she went into such detail that it was just more than my brain could handle. And I don't want to say droning, but that's the way it came across at that time. Now, I love her to death. If you want to learn anything about a deck, a specific deck, she is the best, one of the best source. I think I also stumbled on Three Queens at that time also. Oh my God, it was just amazing. And Evelyn Cameron introduced me to the next deck that I picked up that for myself that I just fell in love with. I mean, I was kind of collecting some of the what we would have considered clones. I don't know if I have any here. As I was bringing in the retail stuff. But like I said, this doorway opened with Wild Unknown. And then Evelyn Cameron came up with this deck. Oh my God. This deck is my soul deck. This is the Mary L. This is my original deck. It's been trimmed and edged. The black is wearing off pretty good on that. Oh my God, this has become my soul deck, and this is my absolute favorite card. Whether you like it or not, I don't care, because this is my absolute, the first Hierophant that ever made sense to me, the description in the book, knowing what feeds you and what starves you, what makes you a healthy baby, what makes you a starving, dying child. This is just, this card just opens so many windows for me. So many doorways, so many interpretations. And the artwork is just the most beautiful artwork in the world. It's just stunning. I have since picked up a sketch edition. I happened to stumble across that in last year, I think it was. It came up on eBay. It was the last one she had, and I purchased it from her. But this was just phenomenal. In fact, I think not the bag that I commissioned, but the gal that did the tarot bags in Australia, I think she did a version of this that was just squiggly threads all over the place, just repeated pattern over and over and over and over again. And it was just stunning. And that was my first time that I connected with her and decided I want one of her pieces. And this is the tarot bag that she made. I had her make for me. I had her do the Hierophant. Absolutely love it. Now hers is velvet with cotton, and I attached a key. I keep a witch's finger crystal with it. And that all stays together. I do have the Marielle first edition. I would consider it a second edition because it has a gold gilded edge, whereas these ones were not gilded. They were just plain. And I have the sketch edition. I never did pick up the newest matte borderless edition because they changed my favorite card. They changed a couple of them, and if they would have at least left those ones in there as an alternative, I would be happy, absolutely ecstatic to purchase one of those. Though right now I'm kind of on I'm definitely on a no buy because unfortunately with my diagnosis here recently, which is going to lead me down this next track. Because I have since amassed a huge amount of decks. I've amassed probably over, I thought it was only about 250, but I guess I'm closer to 400 or 500, and I'm getting rid of all of it, because with the diagnosis, you realize it's just stuff. It's just stuff, and you can't take it with you. My husband would never know what to do with the stuff. He wouldn't be able to get rid of it, or he'd just, take it to some thrift store that would probably trash it because it's pagan. The devil's cards. Anyway, so I hated to see that go, but so this will lead me down. When I first got my diagnosis, I immediately, within the first hour, it was like, it's just stuff. It's just fucking stuff. And it's been a whole waste of my whole life, is how I was looking at it. Which is really sad, but that's where your brain goes when you get these terrible diagnoses. And I thought to myself, you know what? The one deck I'm going to keep is my Marielle deck, and I will be cremated with this deck. Period. That's it. About a week later, I go, you know what? Maybe I better keep my original deck too. Let's keep the Aquarian deck too, because at least my original deck, and that can be cremated with me also. We're good. We're good. And probably another month later, I knew that I needed to liquidate all my extra magical tools and paraphernalia and tarot decks and all the stuff that I just don't use. I have such a huge amount that I don't use them. And so I started hauling things over to my shop to be sold. Over the last 2 months that I've been selling off all my stuff, a little box comes home every other week or so. A few more decks, a few more things. Because I got to thinking, you know what? They gave me 2 years with treatment. I could very well be around a lot longer than that. And what if I get bored? I don't want to be bored. So a lot of decks have made it back home again. So like Tarot Delphi, some new decks, Paul's Moon, things that I had just got in and never even really got a chance to explore. Light Seers, the original Kickstarter, Anna K. original deck. A few of these older Tarotkis, Il Minigelos. What else did I keep? I kept the Chocolate Moonchild. I have the original, the second edition of the original. I have the Akasha, and then I had the Book of Shadows, the original, and then got the chocolate version of the Book of Shadows. So I decided to keep the chocolate version because I like that one the best. This one I haven't decided yet because I've pulled it out because it's an original signed edition from Anna, and I'm pretty sure it is. Everybody loves it so much, but I haven't had a chance to even play with it, and it's been around a while. Turo Delphi has been around a long time, but I love that deck. That one is one that I've worked with quite a bit. I've got, you know, the Weirding of Sarah Howard. I've also got her Bone Stone, the original from her original I don't know if it was a Kickstarter, if it was just an independent publication. I mean, I've got so many decks. The Wild Unknown, I've got well, I have I keep my first edition. One thing I did decide, I don't need more than one deck of each, other than the collector's ones, which the only one I think I have multiple copies of is the Aquarian and the Marielle. Otherwise, everything else that I had, like first, second editions, too, I kept the originals and basically departed with the rest. It's like I don't need more than one. This one is just phenomenal. This is one of the last bags I got from that gal on Etsy before she went through a health scare and basically quit her business. There is the Dust to Onyx, a phenomenal deck. I have the big version, but it's up on my sale at the shop. I only kept the little one because it's easier to handle. Way easier to handle. I decided I could not part with, this is not what I thought it was. This is one that I made. This is one that I had enlarged. I can't remember what it's called, but I think I have the original one tucked away in a box somewhere. It's a revival deck too, kind of like the Turo Delphi, the Crow Tarot. Had to keep my original version of the Crow Tarot. Kept my original version of La Croix. My Carol Hertzler. I have a client named Carol Hertzler, and it's just close enough, the name's pronunciation, that I keep calling it by her name and not the gal that actually makes this version. This would be considered a clone, because it is these were hand done, hand laminated, everything hand colored. These are the what you call it, Waite Smith original imagery recolored. This was about the time that they started. Everybody started reproducing it in their own way, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful deck. It's kind of weird because it's that high, slicky, laminated stuff. I tried edging it, and it bled a bit through the lamination, which kind of sucked, particularly on the backs. But at least it's on the backs. The fronts you don't notice because of the black edging, so that's okay. Like I said, a little disappointing for that. But I think that comes with the process of being handmade, hand laminated. It just doesn't seal the same as going through a production company. Anyways, at this point, I have reamassed probably close to 100 of my decks back. And I still have tons at the shop up for sale. I've sold tons at the shop. So like I said, I think my assessment of thinking I had only 250 decks was me lying to myself and having way more than that. I did keep a version of Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck. I do have my Dirty Pan and I kept my Dirty Pan. That's the only one I kept, was my Dirty Pan. This is one that I had picked up during that journey, probably before Mary L, but it was one of the ones that came up from Avalon, I believe Avalon Cameron, is the Gypsy Palace. And it is an amazing deck, but I need to revisit this one because I had a hard time interpreting the images on my own, but it's been a while since I picked it up, so I think I'm going to revisit this one very, very soon. In fact, I think I'm going to leave this one out and see if I can reconnect with it. But I didn't want to give it up because I bought this special edition directly from Nora, where she made her own bag. It came with its own little handbook like this, or actually this is just a notebook for making things, for making notes and stuff, and a little piece of artwork that came with it. And not only that, she hand bound this little booklet. Oops, helps if I turn it right side up. And this is the guidebook, the little white book, hand bound in a hardcover. And she did this all herself, so I will not give that one up. I just hope my kids appreciate this stuff or understand what they mean to me, and don't just, and my husband, don't just give everything away when I am gone, because some of these are just phenomenal. Knowing my husband, a lot of this stuff will probably just sit in their cabinets until he's gone. He's not one to get rid of stuff. He'll probably keep things the same. But, you know, like I said, I could be around for a long time, and a lot longer than, you know, they tell you. And I don't want to be bored. So I opted to keep some. Now, these last days of the sale, I've been looking at particularly my collectibles, the independent collectibles, the ones that come from out of the country and directly from the artists and have notes with them and all that stuff. And I've been looking at that pile, and I've been selling them off pretty cheap, between $40 and $60. Even my Baba Studio stuff has been selling for like that amount. Which I did keep my Bohemian Gothic special edition from Baba Studios. That's the only one I kept from them. I'll take that back. I did just rescue the Victorian Victorian romance deck. Like I said, as the last days of this sale has been going on, I've been looking at that pile going, you know what, if I'm going to be stuck with a bunch of decks and have to basically get rid of them, send them off to Goodwill or secondhand shops somewhere, I am going to keep the ones that have a little bit more connection with or meaning to me, or there are new ones that I never got a chance to explore. So like Tarot Volatile is one of them. The Blood Moon, I spent a lot of time invested in that one because it took forever to be released. What else did I pull? I went ahead and pulled back my Tarot Vampires, because it's out of print, and I love that deck. I love working with that deck with people, particularly in relationships. Like I said, I amassed so many decks during that time between the Wild Unknown and Volatile. I am so sorry. The dogs are just going. They want attention. I'm sure that's what it is. They're bored. They know I'm not laying around, so they can't sleep in my lap. These two spend their whole days doing this, running back and forth, chasing each other and arguing. Anyways, so I think that kind of brings me to the end of this journey, because like I said, the last decks I got are Tarot Volatile, Paul's Moon, I did eventually get hold of a Greenwood Tarot, and I've stuck it back in my cabinet because I don't think it's the right time to sell it just yet. I've tried several times to sell it for like $300, which is about what I paid for it. And it just doesn't go anywhere. And right now there's a whole bunch of them on eBay, and they're asking astronomical amounts of money, and they aren't even moving. Even the ones that are reasonable aren't moving. It's kind of strange. And then we just got notification from Paul Ryan about the new version that's going to be coming out, and it's going to be hitting Kickstarter. I don't think I'm going to get it. I don't feel the need to. Like I said, you know, you get these diagnoses and you kind of go, it's just stuff. It's just stuff. And I don't need it. I don't need it. It's going to end up who knows where. And I just don't want to. Oh, this is one that came up. Allie. This is one I want to show. Sorry, sidetracking here. This is my Harry Potter deck. That's a cherished deck. That one I am hanging on to, because she did an amazing job with the imagery on this. Just stunning, stunning, stunning deck. I'm so glad I got that one. This one I know my kids will probably hang on to. And it even, I think I did this. I think I bound it in a cloth binding. I printed off the little white book and glued it into a little. It's cloth, but it's like paper also. It's interesting. Kind of a vellum, not a vellum. I don't know what it would be considered. It's very, very soft, but it's durable paper binding. Now I can't get it back in the bag. But yeah, this is one that I couldn't part with either. I didn't grab too many Oracle decks, but this one I didn't want to part with because I got some phenomenal readings with that. It was a great boost to a lot of my card pools on a daily basis, and I really like that. There's a couple decks that I do regret selling in the last few weeks. But it's okay. It's okay. One of the ones that I kind of regret selling is the Inner Hues Oracle deck, because it was the first edition in the brown paper boxing and all that. I can pick up a new one on Amazon for $40-some, but no, I don't need to. I don't need to. It's not necessary. It's not something that from beyond the grave I see somebody throwing away. I don't want to do that. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. I did keep this. This is a special edition of the Lenormand. It's very basic Lenormand, but it was a phenomenal little. I thought it was a great little purchase. It was directly from the artist, and paid a pretty good penny for it, but that's okay. That one stays out. Wild Unknown goes back in the cabinet. Oh, I was gonna put Crystal Palace, Gypsy Palace, up on my reading board over here in my bedroom. I'm sitting here on my great grandmother's, Zuni grandmother, her little chair that she always sat in that my mom inherited and kept, and it's been actually quite comfortable to sit in, even though it's a little old little chair. Cricky little chair. But it feels good to sit in it. I feel a little connection going on here. Anyways, so yeah, even though I was going through this whole purge thing, it kind of backfired on me. And now I have as many decks as, well, not as many decks as I had, because everything at the shop right now, except for what I put into those tubs, including Terra Voltile, all those are going bye-bye, no matter what. I don't need them. I will never read them. They are not high on my list. Even 78 Tarot, I probably collected all the 78. That's probably the big thing I did, is I eliminated a lot of extra stuff from the same producers. All the 78 Tarots that I have, I kept the nautical, and that's the only one I kept on that one, because that one has been a major connection with the water energy, and I've used it on a daily basis for quite some time. It's one of the main ones I use here in my bedroom, along with the Oceana Tarot. So yeah, I've gone from, just in the last 3 months, from one deck to be buried with, or cremated with, and to probably reamassing at least probably 100 of my decks, fooling myself over how many I actually had, because there's a lot of decks, a lot of decks. Anyways, I'm just recanting here now, so I might as well get off the air and let you guys think in peace, and blessed be. And this is my tarot journey, and this is my video response to Simon's tag, and give me a thumbs up, and I plan on being here off and on still for a while. In fact, I'm contemplating doing more videos of waffling, as Mad Witch calls it, of what goes on in my life from here on out. I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands once I stop working, which is coming to an end probably by September, and I'll have a lot of time on my hands to enjoy the nature around me and the changes that are going on in my life. So you guys, blessed be. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the tube. Bye-bye.